Welcome everyone who's watching this video. I hope you're having a great day. Sorry if the audio's a bit weird. It's summer in Australia right now, so that means it's bloody hot and there are crickets going crazy outside. Okay, so let's get in this. This video is going to be about the climate strike that happened in Australia a couple of weeks ago, as well as some others that have happened around the world, and what they stand for and what they mean, and kind of about climate change, what's happening with that. Are we really on track with our Paris climate agreements? So watch the rest of this and you'll find out more. On the 30th of November 2018, 15,000 Australian school students walked right out the front gates of their school and joined a national climate strike. They then amassed in public centres, generally residing in front of political buildings. This was in response to Australia's lack of action against climate change and the construction of the Adani coal mine in Queensland. With new reports from the UN stating that we are way off course to reaching our 2015 Paris Climate Agreement goals, students not just in Australia but around the world are taking action. The Australian strike was inspired by 15-year-old schoolgirl Greta Thunberg, who boycotts school every Friday ahead of Sweden's national election, demanding action against climate change. On the day of the Australian climate strike, up to 10,000 Sydney high school students gathered in Martin Place. I was one of these eager students demanding action from our government against climate change. The demands for the strike were 1. Stop the Adani coal mine. 2. No new coal or gas. 3. 100% renewable energies by 2030. What's so wrong with the Adani coal mine, you may ask? Doesn't supply 10,000 new jobs to Queenslanders, considering Queensland's unemployment rate is at 6.4% and greater in some rural areas? Everything's wrong with that. The 10,000 jobs figure is taken from Adani's publicity material, but is estimated to be closer to 1,500 new jobs. Now, you may say that you don't care about the natural environment, which is fine, it's your life. But considering your main defense for the coal mine was that it would supply 10,000 jobs, how about the fact that the extra CO2 and greenhouse gases that its coal would emit would help to create a loss of over 60,000 jobs from the Great Barrier Reef alone? Now, I'm no genius, but I can tell the difference between 1,500 jobs and 60,000. Furthermore, if the mine were to go ahead and lead to the construction of more mines in the basin, its combined output is estimated to rival that of most nations at 705 million tonnes per year. If the world wants a 50% chance of staying below 2 degrees Celsius of warming, 88% of the world's known coal reserves would have to stay in the ground. This would require drastic change in how we power our cities and our lives. Let's get back to the Great Barrier Reef. If the world's temperature were to increase by 1.5 degrees Celsius, 70 to 90% of the Great Barrier Reef will be gone. However, if it were to reach 2 degrees Celsius of warming, over 99% of the Great Barrier Reef will be gone. If we're not talking about the Great Barrier Reef, but also the whole world, if we wanted to keep only 50% of our current reefs, we would have to stay at approximately 1.2 degrees Celsius of warming, and right now we are at 1 degree already. Do we really want one of our great natural wonders gone forever, just to satisfy our politicians' pockets? The report also found that holding warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius could save an Alaska-sized area of the Arctic from permafrost thaw that could mute a feedback loop and therefore lead to further global warming. So how soon will we reach the 1.5 and 2 degrees Celsius marks? Well, the report by the UN suggests that we'd have to be on a steep downwards path by 2030 to either just stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming or just overshoot the mark. Current pledges in the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement would lead the world to heat by 3 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. This is a mark we cannot even afford to comprehend. So, okay then, so if our Paris Climate Agreements aren't even enough, how are we on the ones we even committed to? Well, the answer is terrible. Australia, as well as the vast majority of other countries, are completely off target to reaching their goals that they put out in 2015. And my question is, should we even call them goals anymore if we don't even attempt to reach them? This is especially bad because 2 out of the 3 largest contributors to climate change do not give a damn about what is happening. If you've watched the news at all recently, you'd know of the US's lack of enthusiasm for the matter, as well as the Brazilian government's support for the deforestation of the Amazon rainforest, which helps to store our CO2 emissions. Now, to be fair, you can't just tell them to stop mining their natural resources just because we don't want them to, but then we should help them out, provide funding, help out the locals. There are plenty of efforts like this, but they are not put in large enough scale to actually do anything as of yet. To be fair, they shouldn't bear the cost of us not wanting them to use their natural resources just because we want to save the planet. But then we should help them out. If we really want something to be done, we can't just expect someone else to do it. Especially because we've mined all our natural resources, we can't expect them to do the same. There are plenty of initiatives like this, but they are not yet used in large enough a scale to really have a huge impact. The third of these countries is China, the largest producer of CO2 into the atmosphere. To be fair, also their largest population, but nonetheless. They had their time as the factory of the world, but now they're paying for it. 750,000 people per year die prematurely in China due to poor air and water quality. Do we really want this to become a common occurrence around the world? This is why China is one of the leaders in renewable energy production. Well, that went on for a bit. Let's get back to where we started with the protest. The Australian government definitely had their fair share of support for the protest that went ahead that Friday. Scott Morrison, or more commonly known as ScoMo, the unelected Prime Minister of Australia, had something to say about it. He said, "We do not support the idea of kids not going to school to participate in things that can be dealt with outside of school." Furthermore, he went on to say, "We do not support our schools being turned into parliaments. What we want is more learning in schools and less activism in schools." Now, ScoMo, if your government weren't acting such like children in preschool, our schools wouldn't have to act like parliaments. Just remember, you weren't elected into your position. You can and will be removed. If you had any level of intelligence, you'd know that pissing off the younger generation will not help you, especially because they are the ones coming up to vote. Furthermore, Resource Minister Matt Canavan said he wanted children in schools learning about mines, geology, and how to drill for oil and gas. "These are the type of things that excite young children," he said. "Taking off school and protesting, you don't learn anything from that. The best thing you'll learn about protesting is joining a dole queue. Because that's what your future life will look like. Up in a line, asking for a handout, not taking charge of your life and looking for a real job." Wait, so you're saying we're not taking charge of our life and future? Just think that over one more time. You really are ignorant, aren't you? And what? Who the hell is excited by learning to drill for oil and gas? "What are we going to do today, miss?" "Oh, we're going to learn how to drill for oil and gas." Woo! Students also had their fair share of things to say at the climate strike. Nosrat Farah stated, "Young people contribute the least to climate change, but we will feel the brunt of government inaction." With Jean Hincliffe going on to say, "When kids make a mess, adults tell us to clean it up. That's fair. But when our leaders make a mess, they're leaving it to us to clean up." Does that seem fair to you? These government comments are on top of the government's support for energy companies to keep burning coal and fossil fuels until 2030. However, these organizations are smart. They know their consumers as well as their future. Some of them have also released TV ads subtly telling the government to go stuff themselves by emphasizing the importance of renewable energies and where the industry is going. In all, we'd have to cut our 2010 emissions by 45% by 2030 to reach net zero by 2050. This is a challenging goal, but definitely achievable. We just have to get our hands out of our pockets and do something. This can be done by getting our governments to take action, but can also be supported by personal action around the country and the globe. We just saw one of the worst droughts ever hit New South Wales, and fires hit Queensland as well as California in the US. Do we really want this to become a yearly event that devastates our planet? Climate change isn't something that's going to affect us in the future. It was affecting us yesterday, today, and will continue to unless we do something about it. Help bring our world to net zero and let our politicians know that we won't rest until we do. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Take everything in that you've heard. Talk about it with other people, spread the knowledge, because I find that a lot of people don't actually know everything that's happening, and it leads them to have opinions that aren't fully educated. So if you learn something new, go tell someone about it. Let people know, because this is the only way things are going to be done, if the public knows about it, because the government relies on people not knowing enough to be able to pretend that they know what they're doing and what they're doing is best, even though most of the time that is not the case. So if you really want to know what's going on, I'll leave some links in the description. You can read further, but please help out. If you see a local protest, feel free to go to that. If you see petitions online, sign them, especially if it's supporting action against climate change or any other social or environmental issues that you wish to support. Just as long as you do something. It doesn't have to be governmental, it can also be personal. There are plenty of things around the home that you can do yourself to help reduce your waste and emit personal emissions and carbon footprint. Well, that's all I've got for you now. I appreciate you watching this video. Thank you very much, and I'm out.